Mr. Ronnie Jones is the chairman of the State Gaming Control Board. Hey, Mr. Ronnie, welcome back to Keel. How you doing?
Morning, Robert. Aaron, how are you guys?
So in times of a complete gaming, gambling, casino shutdown,
Yeah, I'm having trouble here, Ronnie.
what does the chairman of the Gaming Control Board do?
Actually, we've had a lot more going on than I had anticipated during the shutdown. There are all sorts of problems that have propped up with, furloughed employees and companies making notifications to us on how they're securing their properties during the shutdown. It's been incredibly busy, and it got busier last week when the governor created his commission to try and get businesses open back up in the state, because there's one of the working groups is a gaming working group, and I'm chairing that.
So we had Jay Darden on yesterday morning, and I'm always sort of, hey, you're in on all these meetings, and there's half the people, I guess, the medical side that's saying one thing, maybe, and then you've got the business side who's saying we need to get back to work, maybe. When you go to these meetings, what are they like? What do you talk about? Is there yelling?
Well, no, there's not, and there's been less going to meetings than there has been signing on to meetings. Most everything is being done remotely, either with conference calls or Zoom is a hot product these days. Maybe we'll all invest in Zoom. But no, I mean, everybody's passionate about their viewpoint. But, I want to get gaming open. I want to get people back working again. I want to get a revenue stream back to the state. But any recommendations that I make, that this task force makes, has got to be filtered by the public health professionals. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a master's in public health. And whatever recommendations we make, they have to look at them and sanity check them and say, we think these are reasonable. We think that we can still prevent the spread of infection and protect the public and protect employees. And sometimes we forget that if you open casinos back up, you're going to have employees on the front lines of dealing with people coming in off the street. So all of that has to be taken into account.
So, and I don't mean this, what I'm about to ask, as judgmental. So the doctors, at the end of the day, with the governor, the doctors have the last word.
Well, I don't say the doctors have the last word, but I say they have. I say they have tremendous weight. If a doctor, for example, says, "Well, I'm a little bit concerned that there's not enough social distancing here," that's different from the doctor sitting at the table going, "We can't abide by this. It's not enough." There's a difference. I mean, there's so much nuance here, and that's what the deliberations are about. And everybody brings their expert opinion to the table, and eventually somebody makes a decision. And I have to say that Governor Edwards has made some really good decisions to this point.
Ronnie, is reopening the casinos on May 1st realistic?
I would rather say, Aaron, that it's possible. The state police estimates that if we compare from the time that we shut casinos down to the end of April to that period last year, we will have lost 17% of casino business in the state. That's about $443 million in gross gaming revenue. More importantly, it's nearly $100 million in revenue to the state at a time when the price of oil is falling. So the purpose of this task force that I'm over, and we have representatives not only from casinos but video poker as well, is to try and figure out what kind of plans can they file that will meet a standard of acceptability by the public health professionals to open back up. I know that we have to have those recommendations in by the end of April, so we have to have an aggressive approach in our discussions. And the team was just notified yesterday. I mean, and these are vice presidents of casinos from around the country who have properties in Louisiana and representatives of the video poker industry. So our first conference call will be Thursday. And in less than a week after that conference call, we have to have a plan and recommendations.
I'm looking at a report that shows that there may be only 3 people sitting at a table now, that every third machine will be turned off. There are going to be some new norms in the casinos. Is that something that is doable?
Yes, absolutely. A casino manager would rather have, 8 people seated at a table, but if their reopening is conditioned on fewer people at the table, they'll go along with that. This is a transition phase, and we're going to have to move through it in phases. I think every casino operator in the state and video poker operator in the state understands it will be a new norm, at least for a period of time. And then when it's safer to lift some of those restrictions, we can do that.
Ronnie, I am totally ignorant in some ways, of how casinos and casino revenue works. But I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, does the maker, the manufacturer of a slot machine, do they get a piece of the action? Or when a casino purchases, like if Harris purchases a slot machine, is it theirs forever and they take all the money?
It's essentially theirs forever. Yeah. There's leasing arrangements and there's purchase arrangements, and that's different from video poker. But yeah, on the casino floor, most of those games actually belong to the casino operator.
Because my question was going to be, if that's the case, then how do you decide which slot machines are on and off? You see, but I was heading in the wrong direction. So back to Aaron and you.
Ronnie?
It's going to be up to the operator to do that, to decide which ones would be on, which ones would be off.
Elephant in the room. Are we going to lose some of the casinos as a result of this? Do you think there will be some that will not come back, that are going to just shut their doors?
My gut tells me that may be the case. And part of the problem for the casinos reopening is getting employees back. There are some employees who are not going to come back for personal reasons. Some are not going to come back because they don't want to be potentially exposed to the virus, despite protections that might be put in place for the employees. So some of these operators, aside from the fact that they're blowing through their assets right now, blowing through their money, may not be able to reopen. I would suggest that it's going to be some of the smaller properties. I think all of your larger properties are going to reopen. They will not be at full capacity, and they won't be at full operation initially.
Ronnie, one more question. I'm sorry, we're pushing the clock here. I apologize.
That's okay.
Some employees that were dealers don't get paid minimum wage or get paid barely that. And we're told they're only getting like 57% of their base pay, not including tips. So they're barely getting enough to even put a little food on the table. How wrong is that? I mean, are they struggling and will continue to do so?
There are some employees who aren't getting a nickel. So if dealers are getting any of their pay, I'm happy for them for that. That this misery is spread across the board, and it cuts across all social groups, all demographics. I mean, everybody's hurting in a different way. And the quicker we can get relief for some of these people, I think the better off they will be and the better off the state will be.
Ronnie Jones, Gaming Control Board Chairman, thanks for always being candid and available at such god-awful hours in the morning. Thank you,
who
sir.
Would call? What kind of person would call at 6:30 in the morning or text? But
I'm used to it. It's okay.